Okay, good morning. I'm in the office here. It's July 1st, beginning of a new month, July 1st, 2026. It's a little after 6:30 in the morning. I got up to pee around 3:45 and was debating on whether to go back to bed. I went back to bed. The mind just wouldn't stop, so I decided don't resist it. I just got up and started doing stuff in the house that needed to be done. Okay, in the office, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about what words are coming up for me and a couple phrases that have been in my past that have significance. So, I'm feeling a little Meshugganah. Good Yiddish word. And I'll tell you what that means. And another word that's coming up for me that's Yiddish is oi. Lots of oi. Oi, 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 and oi vey. So people, I think most Gentiles have a sense of what it is. And I'm by no means an authority. So Jewish friends out there, I may be totally off base on a lot of this stuff, but I have looked it up. So I'm trying to be accurate. So the first one is, what does Meshugganah or Meshugganah mean? And here it is on the screen. I hope you can see that okay. And basically, Meshugganah is borrowed from the Hebrew word Meshugganah, which means crazy in Yiddish. And it can also be pronounced in a variety of ways, of which I will probably get all of them wrong. And here it is in a sentence. So if you wanted to say, hey, wackos, that lunatic is making me nuts with his craziness, it would be accurate to say, hey, Mishgoyim, that Michigander is making me Meshuggah with his Mishagayas. That's a mouthful. Anyway, I'm feeling Meshugganah. Do other people perceive me that way? I have no idea. That's how I'm feeling. I'm feeling a little crazed. And then oi, a lot of people are familiar with that. Lament. It's a Yiddish interjection expressing dismay, frustration, or lament, often used in the phrase oi vey to convey exasperation or woe. And when I read that initially, I thought, wow, that's a little strong. I don't know if I'm that far. And then after a little bit of time, I said, yeah, I think I need to own that. So meaning and usage, it's an exclamation of distress or lamentation, equivalent to saying, oh, woe is me in English. It is often combined with vey to form oi vey, which expresses a stronger sense of frustration, exasperation, or despair. And again, I thought those were kind of strong words, exasperation and despair, but I do have to acknowledge that I feel that way a little bit. Try not to hold it, but also not resist it. And the phrase that's been coming up, and Susie pretty much lived in this idea, is in Mexico. We had a good friend who was an artist. He and his wife were both artists. Peter Daddio. His wife's name was Carol. They were wonderful people. They were very generous with us. They'd lived in Mexico, I don't know, for at least 15 years, and they're my parents' age. But Peter and Carol were very hip. They had been in advertising in the fashion industry. Peter was little Italian guy, a little wiry Italian guy that probably didn't weigh any more than 135 pounds. Very energetic. And they had their own advertising business in LA, I believe, for the rag trade. And, magazines. They had all the Vogue and everything that would be related to fashion. They had it and were part of that crowd, and they were very hip. So Peter had this phrase, and he had it in Spanish with a translation beneath it. And the phrase in Spanish is "No hay regalas fijas." And here it is with the translation. So it says, "No hay regalas fijas." There are no fixed rules. And why that's so good for me is I tend to get into a track and don't look for other options. And yesterday I wanted to get in early. The primary reason initially was to feed Susie. And I saw a different part of the hospital dynamic that I was insightful for me. So by shifting, and it was a shift that was necessitated by me doing oatmeal, which required me to heat it and provide it to her. It kind of broke me out of a cycle or a rut, if you will. The COVID did that and made me re-examine a lot of stuff, and so that was kind of a benefit of COVID, if you want to call COVID beneficial in any way. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the living room, sit in my chair, and we'll talk about what we're going to talk about and go from there, okay? So, pardon my shaky camera action here while I put on my sandals and walk down our hall. Take a sip. Okay. Oh, I wanted to show you on my screen her therapy schedule. She's scheduled for 4 things today: PT, OT, speech, and recreational therapy. I'm inclined to kind of just tell the rec therapist that don't even try. I mean, Susie is in a pattern of saying no, so I want her to say no to as few people as possible with the hopes that maybe we'll get a yes. And we got some teeny yeses yesterday, so I'll talk a little bit about that. I was going to use the words, I'm desperately trying to get things done that I don't think I'm going to easily be able to do once she's home. One of them is getting a haircut, and I'll talk a little bit about that. I'll talk about what I call teeny wins, and most of this stuff is dumb stuff on the surface, but it helps me stay positive. I met the doctors doing their rounds, which this was the first time I met them while they were doing rounds, and talked a little bit about that. They made a referral to their palliative care team, talked a little bit about that. Met again with a psychologist that I really like, Erica, and she's solid. I'm so happy that she came back and really got clarity on some stuff. I talked about yesterday or the day before that because Susie's not willing to do therapy, and that's really what this is all about, rehab, is that we're going to have to go somewhere else or do something else. And I'm very anxious about that, like what's the future hold and what are the next steps and what are the time frames, and it's all very dynamic, so they really can't answer a lot of that stuff. And so I need to get some equipment if I'm going to bring Susie home, and there's some pressure to get that handled quickly, pressure from the hospital, and understandably so. And then, the muffins that I baked that I showed yesterday, some of the reactions to that. So anyway, so that's what I want to talk about, and talk about Susie and what's kind of going on for her. I showed you the other day our little calendar that I'm keeping plus and minuses on. And Monday was a definite minus. Susie was giving me the cold shoulder, and It was very frustrating for me. She was giving everybody the cold shoulder, not just me. It was like she was not engaging in any way. And she wasn't eating. She didn't eat her lunch and she didn't eat dinner. Found that out yesterday morning that she didn't eat dinner. And I'm thinking, wow, she's made a decision. She doesn't want to continue in this life and she's doing what she has control over. That was my biggest fear. And so, this is a self-admission that I'm not proud of, but it is real. And I'm trying to keep it real with you guys. So Monday, after, for me, a very frustrating day with Susie because she was just blocking me. And I'm struggling. And I told her that I'm struggling because I want to bring her home, but I want to be ready to care for her properly. And I don't want to have to take her back to the hospital because I'm not able to do something. Whether it's like the whole manage her ability to urinate, which she's not doing right now, and they're catheterizing her every, 6 to 8 hours. They measure her how full her bladder is with a ultrasound. I've told you that before. So it's equipment and procedures I'm not going to have, and I don't have the training to do it. So anyway, so Monday night, I was feeling extremely frustrated. And when, I get home, it's like my time to kind of collect myself. Told you I'd go in the garden. And what was coming up for me was it was going to anger, and then it was going to rage. And I just felt like, fuck you, Susie. I'm doing my best for you. And, I don't feel like showing up for every therapy session that you're saying no to. I felt like telling her, listen, if you're not going to play ball, I'm not showing up. That's how I felt in that moment. And I didn't want to stuff those feelings because, stuffing your feelings just delays it showing up. And usually it shows up in an explosive way. The pressure cooker blows up. And honestly, I don't think I really processed it. I just kind of allowed it to be, Didn't try to shut it off, but didn't feed it either. And so I guess I kept it on the back burner as on a simmer. And so yesterday I kind of said to myself, yeah, if you look at it from Susie's perspective, she didn't have a choice about going to the hospital. I made that choice for her because she couldn't speak when I took her. I called 911 and got her to the hospital. And although I had the best of intention, I think she was mad at me for a period of time. And I don't know if she still is. So that's the reason for the psychologist. I so want to see what we can find out about her inner world. So anyway, I felt that I had released that. I don't know if I totally released it, but I released it enough to feel relatively complete, no longer harboring the anger and the rage. And I'm glad I didn't lash out. So I mentioned earlier, I'm trying to think of everything that I feel I need to do before Susie comes home. And one of them is haircut. And some of you know that I didn't get my hair cut during the pandemic. So I had beyond shoulder length hair for the first time in my life. Kept it in a ponytail most of the time. In a way, I kind of liked it because I wasn't blow drying and I wasn't using anything on my hair other than shampoo and conditioner, and it was kind of freeing. I'm kind of a low maintenance guy. So long story here, and I apologize for the long story. Our tax guy, who is in his mid-80s, we've used him for like 20 plus years, and we know him from Mexico. His daughter wrote to us in like January, March, early on, and said, listen, something's happened to my dad. She wasn't explicit, but she said, something's happened to my dad. He's not going to be able to do taxes for you guys. It was group email, and said, you're just going to have to find somebody else. And so, I'm Googling, low cost and no cost, and I really didn't want to use, the tax software stuff that you can buy commercially. I felt I needed a little more support than that. Not that my taxes are very complicated, but that's just how I felt. So I came across some senior centers via, I think it was AARP that had resources available through senior centers. And I discovered a senior center in Camden that is very big and has a lot of resources and a lot of activities. I didn't get the taxes done through them. I got it done through a different senior center. But anyway, one of the things I discovered is every 2 weeks, they provide free haircuts for seniors. So that's the good news. The bad news is you got to get there early. Otherwise, you're waiting a couple hours or hour and a half. I think hour and a half, something like that. So they go 10 to 12, but if you don't get there before 9:30, you might have about 10 people ahead of you. And there's 2 little Asian ladies. I think they're Vietnamese. We have a pretty good sized Vietnamese population here in San Jose. And they're all business. If you could envision somebody being inducted into the military, and there's a long line of guys getting their first military cut, and it's zip, 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 and boom, you're gone. They're not quite that extreme, but they're not far from it. So they use scissors on top. You can see my hair. I think it looks pretty good, but they use scissors on top, and then it's all different gradations of electric razors for different lengths, and they're pretty quick. I think maybe it's 10 to 15 minutes max in a chair, where I'm used to getting the shampoo and the conversation, and it's an hour with Sandy. Shout out to you, Sandy Weber, if you're watching. That's my hairstylist that I've known for 30 plus years. So anyway, that's one of my action items. And Thursday's the day that they provided. I still need to confirm that. I'm pretty sure it's this Thursday. So, when I went in, I had my long hair, and I'm trying to describe what I want done, and I don't really know how to describe it. And the little Asian lady says, regular man haircut? And I said, yeah, that's it. So I'm going to try to get a regular man haircut this Thursday. Stay tuned. Oh, by the way, the last time I got it cut, it was way closer on this side than on this side. And Susie's examining my cut, and she's going, hey, it's way shorter here than here. And I said to her, after looking in the mirror at it, I said, wow, I didn't notice. No, that's all I noticed. So it's grown out, so it's cool. And I wasn't going anywhere other than the grocery store, so who cares? Anyway, teeny wins. This is stuff that just feels kind of ridiculous telling you, but when I get teeny wins, I have to take it. So yesterday I took a different route to the hospital. I avoided this. We live right off of Payne, Payne, in San Jose, and it can be a fairly busy street. And the route is Payne to San Tomas Expressway, which is 2 lanes in each direction, and it flows fairly quickly. The 2 lanes plus I forget what you call it, when you have multiple ride sharing, carpooling lane. So, but that can get congested too. So without traffic, it takes me about around 15 minutes to get to the hospital. With traffic, it could be easily double that or more. So I was trying to avoid Payne, thinking I've got to make a left on it, commute hour, all that stuff. And I just thought, I'm just going to try it. And it wasn't bad. And actually, I think it was actually shorter or easier. So I'm going to do that from now on. Stay tuned. So that was a win, just making it easier getting there. The other win was I park in a 4-level parking structure, and because I haven't been getting there till like between 10 a.m. and 12, most of the parking spots are taken, so I'm going up to the 3rd or 4th level. And, it's not a huge walk, but, you're going downstairs, and if you're carrying stuff, it's a bit of a hassle. I did use the elevator when I took that big hydrangea in. But so yesterday, got a spot on the 1st level, and I just thought, wow, that's a win. And Susie and I, early on in our relationship, would play a little game. We'd both done the EST training, which was the thing in the late 70s, early 80s, Earhart seminar training. That's what EST is. And so one of the things was using your mind for things, one of the takeaways. So she would regularly try to est a parking spot when we were looking for parking. And frequently we got a good parking spot. So was she doing it? I have no idea, but it was showing up and we were excited. So I asked at a parking spot, I think. Breaking out of rigid structures and thinking. One of them was going in early, but that was because of the oatmeal and me needing to feed her. Yesterday I got an insight. Because I'd gone early and felt time pressure. I didn't do my walk, and I intended to walk last night. I didn't do that, so I thought, well, yesterday at the hospital, I thought, wow, I could walk during the day at the hospital. Go outside, the grounds are great. And even walking beyond the grounds, I can go for a 30-minute walk. Nothing is keeping me from walking. I'm trying to be there for the therapy sessions, and there are a variety of people that filter in, like the doctors on rounds and like the psychologist and like the palliative care team. So, I have conflict. I don't want to miss those people. I feel it's so crucial that I'm there and interacting with them. So anyway, I'm trying to remind myself that there aren't any fixed rules. I got to give myself a lot of options. I'm going to scooch up here. I mentioned that I met the doctors in early rounds. I'd already met them before, so it wasn't like a new thing, but I felt we could have an interaction. And they were interactive with Susie, asking her questions. And, Susie was quasi-responsive. She was answering some of them, answering in the shaking the head up and down or side to side. I expressed whatever my concerns were. Again, my mind just races all the time. I can't remember what I asked them or told them. But they were recommending maybe having their palliative care team come up. And so later on, the palliative care team showed up. And, some people hear palliative and they think it's related to hospice. And yes, people that are in hospice can also be receiving palliative care. But palliative care is not end of life. It's basically, somebody has a debilitating physical situation, and it's just making them as comfortable and as stress-free as possible for their living situation. And maybe they can improve, and maybe there isn't any opportunity for improvement in their medical or physical situation. So they came in and they were asking a lot of questions of Susie and me, our relationship, Susie's history, her behavior, very interactive, very empathetic, the frustration of not being a expressive person and not being able to speak or communicate. So I really felt good about that. They said they'd try to return. They've got a busy schedule, so I'm hopeful that I'll see them in the next day or so. Just really felt good about them. Then we got a return visit from Erica, chief psychologist. And again, I don't know what that means. really doesn't matter to me. It matters to me who Erica is and how Susie responds to her. Thing I like about Erica, she's very direct, but in a kind, firm way, no BS. And she's very direct with Susie and empathetic. And I really felt there was some level of respect from Susie toward Erica and a level of connection. And, Erica was saying, asking questions of Susie, and then Erica turns to me. Something just popped up on my screen. Notifications. So she says to me, can I ask her the big question? And, mine's space case, so I don't know what the big question is, but my attitude is, you can ask her anything you're thinking of asking her, so go for it. I didn't say that, I just nodded yes. And she said to Susie, do you want to die? I thought, wow, here's the moment of truth, what's really going on. And Susie shook her head no. I was surprised based on the previous day's behavior and lack of eating and all that. So I felt that was a win. She just reconfirmed that Susie doesn't want therapy. And my apologies if I'm being repetitive here. But basically, we were given 3 options on Monday in terms of moving forward. One is Susie could reinitiate to accept therapy and participate. 2 was for her not to do therapy, but for me to learn how to care for her, getting her out of bed, getting her into the wheelchair, out of the wheelchair, onto a toilet, into the wheelchair, from the car, into the car, from a wheelchair, in and out of a doorway with steps, into a doorway, moving up the steps, all that kind of thing. And all of these are minor but important, And, if she's catheterized, it would be a different kind of catheter where her urine would go into a bag and there would be some level of maintenance, hygienic maintenance that I would need to provide. So that was discussed with Susie yesterday when the doctors came in on rounds. And Susie was shaking her head no to both options, catheterization, which is what she's doing right now. I mean, they're saying this is what we're doing right now. We need to express your bladder because it's full. Versus trying to think of the name of the catheter that remains in, begins with an F, and it sounds like it's named after somebody. I don't remember it, but Susie was shaking her head no to both options. So Susie's a tough nut. I think they're discovering how resolute she can be, which on some level, although frustrating, is showing that she's not rolling over. She's not, she's still got some fight in her. I'm just hoping on hope that, it's the ojalá. Hoping on hope that she'll be open to some level of therapy once I get her home. Whether I take her to some kind of outpatient therapy or I have somebody come in, and that's still very unsorted. I think the hospital team, they had their team meeting, the conference yesterday, and although I haven't gotten anything explicit, met with the case manager and the PT therapist and the OT therapist, and they're saying, okay, you need to get some equipment for Susie to come home. So they're really pushing on me to take some action. I don't want to screw that up and get the wrong thing that's not going to work. I need to see if there's any vehicle for reimbursement. I'm doubtful because usually I think that's covered by Medicare Part B, which Susie does not have. So I think I need to get a hospital bed because if Susie's going to be in bed for a good part of her time here at home, which I don't want to have happen, I want to get her in the chair. I want her to be able to get, upright, which is better for her and the whole bed sore prevention thing. And also I think it's better for her mental health, to see out a window, and maybe you take her into the patio where she can see the garden, especially this time of year, get some fresh air, maybe a little sun. I know she's very sensitive to temperature and breezes and all that, so I'd need to kind of bundle her depending upon the weather. Wouldn't want to be out there during the hottest time or the coolest time. So anyway, I'm sorting through hospital bed options. I've looked at Facebook Marketplace, and there was a hospital bed for sale that was like 60%. I mean, the bed I'm eyeing is about $2,000, and same bed was for sale for about $1,100, but it was in Oakland and it was upstairs, and they said you'd need a dolly, and it said it was unused or lightly used, I forget which, and I thought, I gotta rent a truck, gotta hire somebody, pay for gas. So after all that, maybe I'm out $500, and $1,100 plus $500, we're at $1,600 maybe for a used one versus $1,900 for a new one that gets delivered to my door. So, prefer to get one locally, prefer to get one more reasonably priced. Don't know if I have the time really to shop and then go schlep it. So that's kind of what I'm wrestling with right now. The PTs and OTs made recommendations on wheelchairs, and she needs a small wheelchair because she's such a little person. They call that a Hemi, as in a Hemi engine. So they showed me a few on Amazon, and they're around $160, $70, I think. And again, that gets delivered to your door. So I've got two in mind. I just want to run them by the therapist today, and then I'll pull the trigger, and they can get delivered here, I think, around like April, July 3rd to July 5th. So pretty quickly. So there's pressure to get going on getting the house set up. And I shared with Jay, my brother, the hospital bed I was looking at, and he's saying, you probably don't need all that. That's like more than Susie might need in terms of, he's thinking more on the expense end, because I've been very candid with him about what I have and don't have money-wise. But I'm also concerned about, her comfort, if this is something she's going to be in a lot, which I hope isn't the case. Hope she's in the chair. I can get her in the chair. So basically, my shopping list is hospital bed, wheelchair, it's kind of a shower seat / bench, and the bench kind of extends out of the tub. We have a tub with a shower. So, and the thinking is its shower tub is adjacent to the toilet. If she has an accident and have to finish business on the toilet, to have the bench / chair which is just one long horizontal surface, easy to slide her on that and help her get cleaned up. So, a lot of unknowns. A lot of unknowns. So, trying to work through that. I showed you the muffins that I'd baked the night before. I gave some to my neighbor Pietro, which I give him a lot of my cooked stuff. He seems to enjoy it, and I like sharing. And I wanted to get some to my Uncle Jerry in Saratoga because I haven't seen him in a long time, and I thought this would be a good excuse to bring something over and just see him and see how he's doing and just tell him how much I love him and miss him. And so I wrote a little note to the doctor and the Orange team. That's what Susie's on. So the Orange team caregivers. I just expressed my gratitude for everything they were doing for my wife. And throughout the day, I had a number of people come in saying how good the muffins were and how much they appreciated it. And I just was so happy that they were good muffins because I hadn't baked that one before, and I was kind of nervous that, oh my God, should have picked something I've done before, but I haven't been doing muffins for a while, so I was going to try to convert a banana bread to a muffin recipe, and I thought, just take a muffin recipe and follow the directions. So that's kind of what I did. So Susie's therapy, she did a teeny bit for, the therapist came at breakfast. She got graduated to bite size, which is about a 3/8 of an inch by 3/8 of an inch cubes. Again, the food is soft, so, it's like a consistency of scrambled eggs that are chopped into little cubes. I don't think she ate eggs. I think she had eggs. I think she had eggs and something else. And I brought the oatmeal, the infamous oatmeal that I've been talking about. And she did have maybe 3 or 4 spoons of oatmeal. So that was a win. There was a lot more of oatmeal left over, so I just brought it home and I'm going to have it this morning. So Becca, the speech therapist, who's absolutely spectacular. These therapists are gently persistent. Like Susie's putting up barriers, but they're working on her in a kind and gentle, respectful way, not mowing her over. Because, you need a willing participant for therapy. Can't force it. And so she was able to do about 10 minutes with Susie at the very end of the 1 hour that she had available. And basically, they did counting 1 to 10. And they did the days of the week. And then they did the months of the year, and the months of the year were more difficult for Susie because there's multiple syllables in a lot of the months. And when I say Susie did all these things, she's not able really, I don't think, to say any one of these words clearly, but it's forming you have to form, the mouth has to form to create the word. So this is like the baby step moving toward being able to speak it. And Susie was willing to go along with Becca in terms of making attempts to make her mouth form the form that it would take. And I was a distance away. I was a ways away from Becca and Susie. I taped it and I put it up on YouTube so you can see it. So I don't know what was coming out of her mouth. Susie, the other thing is Susie is more verbal. She's saying some words, but not intelligible sentences. So, and again, does she have the word up here and a different word is coming out? That's a possibility. So I said the other day, maybe she's trying to say bed and baby comes out. So I'm not 100% sure. Is she saying what she's thinking when she's saying a word to me? But she has been more verbal, and I'm encouraging her, and I'm saying that's wonderful. You're making progress. I want to continue this. And I have to balance that with not being a helicopter spouse of being totally in her face all the time. So I don't have an answer to that. I want to practice with her. There are tools and resources available. But for the time being, I'm having the therapist do the bulk of that kind of interactivity, and that's kind of their MO. So therapy, Nicole came in. She's the physical therapist. She was very patient and persistent, but couldn't get Susie to agree to anything. But, Nicole was there for a good 20 minutes of her scheduled hour, just talking with Susie, and Susie was not covering her face for anybody yesterday. So this is huge to me. She's not totally blocking, but she is saying no a lot. She is kind of putting her hand up. So it's not as dramatic as the other several days of covering her face. So I think she is softening a little bit, but I don't know. My ohala is that she would just be willing to do the therapy and we could stay a little bit longer and she could have better capability when we come home, and I could get more training with her as a willing participant, which she's not totally yet. Yesterday, the OTs, Alex, who is a woman, and Tracy, who's a woman, they were wonderful and persistent. And finally, we got Susie to agree after I had, so it started out, Susie wasn't willing to let me sit her upright and put her in the wheelchair. So plan B was for me to do that with Tracy, who is a little bit taller than Susie, but not a whole lot. She's pretty small. And so I was able to do that with Tracy. And again, I'm a person that needs repetition, so one time is not enough. I need to do it like 20 times every day for weeks, is how I feel. And so then they said, hey, Susie, would you be willing to let Joel sit you upright? And she nodded yes. And so that was a breakthrough. So I was able to sit her upright, and she still leans to her good side. She doesn't have a sense of where her center is. Or if she does, she has a lack of control to get it back to center. I'm not sure what the deal is, which one of those it is, but anyway. So then the next step is they asked her if Susie would let me put her in the chair, and she said no. And they tried several times and it was still no. So we put Susie back in bed. Oh, I did change her diaper. Her diaper wasn't soiled. We checked to see. And so they said, let's put a new diaper on her. So in my mind, she really didn't need a new diaper. I don't know if this was for training me, but I was adamant with Tracy, don't do anything. You can't touch this thing. It's my job and you have to tell me what to do. And the diaper is pretty easy, and it has little adhesive tabs. I don't know if they're adhesive or kind of Velcro-ish things, but they stick. No pins, no safety pins. That's the era I grew up in. Cloth diapers and safety pins. Wow, how different it is for babies these days. Anyway, I changed her diaper and I put her pants, had to pull her pants down below her knees to do the diaper, and pulled her pants back up, and I'm having her help pull her pants back up with her good hand. And I could tell I didn't get the pants perfectly aligned, like they were pulled a little more to one side, but I think, without two people, that's kind of going to be the state of things. And I just need to be willing to roll with that. So anyway, oh man. My cousin Kathy reached out via text yesterday with, she's talked with people that are friends of hers. Husband experienced a stroke and provided all kinds of links to resources in terms of support groups and things like that. I do appreciate that, Kathy, so much. And anybody else that's reached out, that just means a lot. Oh, on the muffins, my cousin Tim sent me a Facebook Messenger. That's how we communicate. Message last evening saying that my uncle Jerry is raving in all caps about the muffins. And I replied that that's good. I want to use his testimonial when I open my bakery. I'm not opening a bakery, but it's just trying to be playful, I guess. Having a little levity during this time. Anyway, guys, I need to scoot, need to water the garden, need to have breakfast, shower, and get on the horse and get over there. So love you. Appreciate your comments, your messages of support, your get well cards, or not get well cards. I don't know that get well is the right word, but something about healing, if that's even real. Words of support. Anyway, it's appreciated, and like, comment, and subscribe if you're not a subscriber already, and share it with people that are in our circles so they can be aware of what's going on with Susie. I did reach out to a client yesterday that had Facebook messaged a week ago. And, we love their family, the Chadwells. Shout out to Angie, Guy, Curry, and Hannah. They've got 2 kids that are just blossoming into young adulthood. And they're so good, such a positive force in the world. So shout out to you guys, and we'll see you tomorrow. Maybe. I don't know if I'm going to keep doing these things once Susie gets home. I don't know what my workload's going to be, and I'm just going to have to roll with it. So have patience with me. So much love, guys. All for now.